Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low.
Welcome back to the Slippery Slope podcast. I'm J Fallon, obviously. So today's episode, what I want to talk about, the story we're covering is it's not just another headline to myself. It's about dysfunction inside Queensland's institutions. It's a story. It's a story I lived. The Courier Mail is reporting that the Queensland Police Union is urging more than 60 seconded officers, police officers, to walk out of the Crime and Corruption Commission. Why? Because a Supreme Court challenged has raised the possibility that 20 years of the CCC investigations may have been conducted by officers who weren't legally authorized to be there. And so I've got to talk about that. Not just not just as a commentator, obviously, but as someone who was one of those seconded officers. So what's happened? The article reveals two major issues. The CCC has been disciplining seconded police officers under its own internal regime, not under the Queensland Service Administration Act. The second issue, major issue, legal advice now suggests that seconded officers may not have been properly authorized under the Crime and Corruption Act, meaning their powers, their appointments, and potentially their investigations could be invalid, potentially. So it's not just a paperwork error. It's a structural failure that could undermine 2 decades of corruption investigations. And the QPU, the Queensland Police Union, knows it. That's why they're telling officers to get out now. So my experience inside the CCC, okay, so here's where this story, for me anyhow, becomes personal. I was a Queensland Police Service officer, just in case you don't know anything about me or this podcast, my podcast, The Slippery Slope. So I was a Queensland Police Service officer, and I was seconded to the CCC, to the Crime and Corruption Commission. I worked inside that organisation. I saw how it operated. I saw the culture, the pressure, the politics, the internal contradictions, and I also saw how quickly you can be discarded when you don't fit the narrative. When Queensland Police mandated the COVID vaccination, I made a personal decision not to take it. The CCC responded by terminating my secondment, even though the mandate came from QPS, not the CCC. Then QPS punished me again, standing me down and cutting off my pay. So we had two institutions, two punishments, one decision. And now, years later, we discover that the CCC, the Crime and Corruption Commission, may not have even had the legal authority to second officers in the first place. You just let that sink in for a second. They were happy to remove me from a secondment that may not have been legally valid. They were happy to enforce discipline under a framework that may not have applied to me, and they were happy to punish me twice while operating under a system that is now being questioned in the Supreme Court. This is the hypocrisy. This is the rot, the kind of rot that I've been talking about for several years now. So what this all reveals, I believe, this reveals about the CCC and about QPS, the Queensland Police Service. This story exposes something I've been saying for years, if you've been following me. Okay, Queensland's institutions are not built on truth. They are built on a facade. They are built on, like the good doctor said to me years ago, it's all about perception. It's all about perception, Jay. They're built on power, process, and self-protection. That's all they're built on, not on truth. When you're useful, they keep you. When you're inconvenient, they discard you. When you raise concerns, they ignore you. And when you stand on principle, they punish you. Because these institutions don't stand on principles. And now the very foundations of the Triple C's operations, the legality of secondments, the validity of coercive powers, the disciplinary framework, their disciplinary framework are being challenged. This isn't an accident. It's the inevitable result of leadership that values compliance over integrity. So let's take a brief look at moral and the spiritual dimension to all this. The Bible warns repeatedly about corrupt systems and leaders who twist justice. Isaiah 10 says, "Woe to those who make unjust laws and to those who issue oppressive decrees." This is what happened during the mandate. Unjust laws throughout all of society and oppressive decrees going out that oppress the rights of all individuals, whether you agreed or not. That's what we're seeing here. Institutions that demand obedience but don't follow their own legislation. Leaders who enforce rules selectively and systems that punish the principled and protect the powerful. And why I say all that is because the Queensland government, they always say that they stand by and they stand for human rights. Okay, if you work within the Queensland government and within that framework, you have to agree to stand by to work within human rights framework. However, the Queensland government, QPS, the Triple C, if something's too hard for them, okay, it becomes difficult to work within the human rights framework that they say they stand behind. Okay, they're just like the facade of saying it. If it becomes too difficult, then they will come up with a clause. They will come up with something that says, "Oh well, okay, we stand by it, but right at this time we can't uphold human rights." So they always give themselves an out, and that's why I say they demand obedience, but they don't follow the very legislation that they say that they follow. They just have that facade so they can put up a plaque and say to the outside world, "Oh, look, we stand by this. We stand by this legislation. We stand by human rights," except for when it becomes too hard. But they demand that everyone else follows the law. Everyone else follows legislation. Everyone else follows what they want you to follow. So the bigger question is this. If the Triple C, the Crime and Corruption Commission, has been operating with invalid secondments for 20 years, if it has, what happens to past investigations? What happens to coercive hearings? What happens to disciplinary actions? What happens to people like me who were removed under a framework that may not have been lawful? And most importantly, how does a corruption watchdog fail to follow its own legislation for 2 decades? That's if it's been invalid, okay? I'm not jumping the gun. I'm just saying these are the questions that will be raised. This is not a small issue. This is it's a crisis of legitimacy. The story isn't over. The Supreme Court will decide the legal questions, but the moral questions are already answered. Queensland's institutions are broken. They punish the wrong people far too often. They ignore their own rules far too often. And they operate without the accountability they demand from everyone else. It's not just Queensland. This is Australia-wide in actual fact. As always, this is just my opinion. I'm J Fallon. Thank you for listening to the Slippery Slope podcast.
They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's going